Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Career Equation podcast. And today I'm delighted to be with client, colleague, friend, Holly Smith from Personio. Holly is a diversity, equity and inclusion partner at Personio. And Personio is a software HR tech solution that eliminates waste and inefficiency of all kinds for SMEs, helping them to automate their HR tasks and really gets some exemplary feedback in terms of the time and energy that it saves its clients. So that's a fantastic business to be involved in. Prior to that, Holly was also an integral part of the FinTech High Growth Comply Advantage, who help businesses know their customer and combat financial crime. And prior to that, at the global footwear retailer, Dr. Martens. Everyone's got a pair in the cupboard. I've got 3. And Holly uses a data-driven approach to really partner with the organization she works with and their global leaders to highlight what matters most to their people and to work to create an environment in which everybody is included, executing on global DEI strategies to elevate these inclusive environments. So very, very warm welcome to you, Holly.
You'll spend 80,000 hours at work. You're here because you want those hours to count. Hi, I'm Zoe Schofield.
And I'm Erica Sosner. A warm welcome to the Career Equation podcast. On this podcast, we take time out from our award-winning careers consultancy to share a game-changing formula to help you solve the sum of your life.
Each week, we and our guests use the career equation to explore their story so far and help them unlock the secrets of a fulfilling career.
Thank you. That was a lovely introduction. Well done.
Thank you. It's always a bit nerve-wracking. Do you get all the right bits in? Do you say it the right way? What do you stumble over? So thank you very much. And of course, you and I have worked together at Comply Advantage to really help you to bring career conversations to the fore. So you know a little bit about the equation already.
Definitely. The career equation helped us to upskill our managers globally at Comply Advantage seamlessly. So could not be where they are today without the career equation for sure.
Oh, that's very nice of you to say. We're really always happy to hear that. Can you tell us a little bit about Personio, about your role there, and about what's going on for you in your life and work at the moment that sort of made it a good time to have this conversation?
Personio is, as you mentioned, a HR software solution automating as many HR tasks as possible. I've been there almost 3 years and it's almost coming up to its 9th birthday. So what they call in the Europe tech space, a unicorn in the region and a really big brand in Germany especially. And we're trying to make it out into the UK and into the US as well. We're really focused on those small to medium-sized business enterprises. And I have been in the D&I world specifically since joining Personio on a larger culture and engagement and employee experience roles. Before that, personally, I just had my first child, who's now 9 months old. So navigating the workplace as a working parent, but also this change curve as well, going into my maternity leave, negotiating on a day-to-day basis, how it impacts not only how I structure and make routines in my day, but my own personal confidence too. I'm excited to have this conversation with you and reaffirm some things that I already knew anyway and hope to feel good afterwards.
Yeah, great. Well, I hope that we can rebuild your sense of perception about yourself because actually you've improved with age and experience in this life-changing event. But so often for new parents, it doesn't always feel that way, partly also because you're just too knackered to think about much else, and also because your child is operating on your brain, which is quite a scary idea, I think, but true, in terms of taking up some of your neurological capacity to help you to learn how to parent and take care of them, which I think is an incredible discovery, but also a serious intervention because we only have as much brain power as we have. And if your little one is taking 25%, it's not surprising that we feel like we've lost a bit of confidence. So welcome to the world of parenthood. I ask everyone to bring a career conundrum, something that they're working through around the work they're doing right now or the next sort of stage and phase. Can you tell us a bit about what you chose?
Yes, the question I would love to know from our listeners is how do you ensure your people functions are truly aligned with the business strategies and goals? So I think it's so easy that HR teams can be only viewed as supporting our internal customers, which is definitely an important part of our role. But I think we can actually be really strategic partners to those departments and also helping the business to achieve their wider goals. So for us in Personio, this global expansion, having the people function as one of the main points of contacts to help drive this strategy will be a key differentiator from us from just having people in the sales department or the product and tech department leading this way. Do you agree?
Oh gosh, I know right now that anyone who's in HR listening to this podcast is going, yes, that's true, it's so true. Like the amount of times that HR tell me we are underutilized in terms of the strategic benefits that we can bring to the business when they are leading the charge, whatever the agenda might be, that so often, too often, and like disappointingly often, the perception around HR is a kind of relegated operational function. Do you have a vision for how you describe it when HR is fully integrated into a strategic agenda?
Yeah, not really. Just having that true alignment cross-functionally, right? Breaking down the silos so we're not working as a separate function, but there's always somebody represented from each of these departments and truly moving forward in the right way. Otherwise, it's just an afterthought, isn't it?
Yeah, it's surprising how many organizations we've encountered where the people function isn't on the executive board. It's a level below, and you're like, but aren't the people like what makes everything happen? And if you lose the people are facing the wrong direction, or they don't want to get on board, or they don't share the vision, aren't you going to have a fairly major problem? If you live in the world of learning, leadership and HR, you're like, but that's obvious. But on the other hand, it seems that it isn't always. And sometimes particularly in technical businesses where like hard skills, one way or another, or technical prowess, or even the sales and fee earning team are considered like the global superstars. And there's a hierarchy about the value attributed to the contribution people make to the organization's goals. So it's interesting to see that skew. And of course, you're in an HR tech business, so we'd expect you guys to be better at taking advantage of the people stuff than perhaps some others that may be more outside of the people realm. So let's see how diving into the equation process and thinking and the kind of skill sets and attributes it brings out of you might help you and I to think about a couple of things that you can own and influence to help build that alignment. Of course, we can only control the controllables, which are within your organization and your response to it. So let's see how we capitalize on the holliness of Holly to help you identify that. Are you willing to have a go?
I love it. Cannot wait.
Brilliant. All right. Well, so for those of you who are listening for the first time, or just for a recap for us all, the career equation is a simple formula to help you solve the sum of your life in relation to your career and thriving at work. And the four elements of the equation are this: playing to your skills and strengths, knowing what they are and how to apply them in your work, and then applying them to something that you care about, something that you feel mission-led around, or something that gives you a lot of pleasure and energy, or something you love to geek out on. We like to apply our skills to something that gives us pleasure and enjoyment, and to combine those two things to get a result. We call it an impact in the equation, a result that is meaningful to you, that makes you feel successful. So we're going to be digging into what does that mean for Holly today. And the last bit of the equation says all of those things are all very good, but they can be enhanced or they can be destroyed by the kind of environment that we put you in. So our last questions will be, what's the environment in which you do your best work? We will then start framing up what we call a career design statement, which is a way of setting out your vision and intention around your work. So without further ado, I want to get stuck into your first moment. So the first moment that we ask for is a skills moment. And I'd love you to tell us about a time, Holly, ideally from when you were fairly young, where you discovered that you were good at something.
If I think back to the very first example of this, is when I was just leaving school, just finishing my A-levels, and I started doing like a local babysitting business. I think I put up a note in the post office, and one mum came, and just through referrals, by the end of the year, I had 80 different contacts in my phone book. And I think this is because they knew I was somebody that they could rely on, that she was normally going to be free. They knew what they get. I usually did their washing up and stuff as well while their child was sleeping. And I was somebody that they could rely on and trust. Like, it just became this system of referrals. And I don't think I did anything special other than the babysitter. I don't think I was cheaper or anything. I think it was just because of that, hey, Holly will always deliver this level. And I've been doing it for a few years. And it started with the Couch to 5K. And now I'm on Strava with hundreds of other employees. I'm never the fastest. I'm never the longest runner, but I'm there every day. I'll be there.
Brilliant. Any advice for people who find consistency really difficult? Because not everyone finds it easy to get into a rhythm and repeat and be consistent and show up.
I think it's about deciding who you want to be. That sounds a really big thing. But so, for example, if I go back to this running again, I wanted to be known as somebody who ran, and I wasn't ever going to be the fastest runner, and I wasn't going to be the longest. But I decided, actually, I want people to remember, like, I know Holly, she does 5K every morning before work. So that became part of who I was. So it doesn't need to be something big, like running 5K every day. But if you want to be known as somebody who has really nice teeth, you have to brush your teeth every day. Think about actually what's important to you, and you'll make the time for it, won't you?
Nice. I love this idea of who do you want to be known as. It came up actually in a book I read recently, Atomic Habits. One of his tools was like, don't think so much about setting a goal, think about the kind of person that you want to be. So someone who has a wonderful meditation practice, or someone who is calm. You talk about consistency as the skill set, but I feel like there are a whole bunch of other things in the story that I picked up as really strong skill sets. Like one is trust, like credibility, reliability, intimacy, they say in the trust equation. You have to be credible. Someone has to be able to trust you. You reliability, which means you consistently show up in the same way. And intimacy, you let people know who you are. It's still not a small thing to leave someone in charge of your kids for most people. They have to feel that you're safe, responsible, safe pair of hands. And you did their washing up when you could have just sat there eating popcorn, right? And your network grew exponentially as a result of get one, get five. They tell their friends, they tell their friends. And isn't it ever that through word of mouth and recommendation, despite social media and all the other snazzy things we have, that's probably our most powerful way of trusting a connection can be credible. So you quite naturally use both that consistency, but also that trust and helpfulness to build your network. Do we see that in other aspects of your life? Is that true elsewhere?
I think if you connect with me, I want to help as many people as possible. I just become a new parent. I also took on a full-time all year round volunteer role as well, because this is so important to me, giving back to other people, and that's how I get my energy too. That's true. That's nice. Thank you for calling that out.
Yeah, I know that you've just been celebrating Pride here in Brighton, but also you've given a significant amount of time and energy to Pride London to help make that happen.
Yeah.
So all the time that I've known you, you've always found ways to contribute generously on top of the work that you do. And I know that when I came home from hospital for my son's birthday, you were the person who came with me. I appreciated that. Was a very generous and thoughtful thing to do. And I knew that I was in a safe pair of hands. I knew this was someone who would happily take care of me and do that in a joyful and reassuring way. So thank you.
And hopefully just turn up when you show. This can be the biggest thing, I think, with the busy lives of everybody. If I say that I'm going to be there, I'll be there for you.
If I said I would, I did. I keep my word. It's really powerful. Let's talk now about pleasures and passions. We talk about this idea of when you love what you're doing, when you can feel the energy coursing through you as a result of what you're doing. That's when you do remarkable work. That's when you know you're in a sweet spot. So I'd love to hear about a time in your working life where you really felt like, this is it. This is really exciting work for me.
I think the work that I most enjoyed was being the chief culture vulture at Dr. Martens. I'm 99% sure this role doesn't exist anymore. I think they've continued to grow and expand globally. But if they're there, please give me a caca. We used to do a caca at the beginning of every meeting.
Of course you did. What's a meeting without a caca? For those of you on audio, we are making little hand gestures as we do that with each other.
I was so lucky to join Dr. Martens as it was growing from 300 people to over 3,000 by the time I left. So real growing from strength to strength, going into new markets in America, in Asia. And I'd actually been originally hired to be the PA to the HR director, and then it grew to supporting the whole of the global leadership suite, so the CEO, the chairman, general counsel, blah, 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 before growing up the whole PA team. But thinking back now, that was so much work, and never at the time did I think, oh, this is so much work, this is so hard. I just remember being flown to countries I'd never been to before, meeting people that I would have never crossed paths with, and being able to soak in all their knowledge. This was before podcasts became a true thing, right? Being able to spend time with just people that I enjoyed spending time with, because we all had the same values by being hired by the same company, and collaborating with them, connecting, celebrating. Like, I was in my element. I loved it all. And after 5 years of growth and development, like, they really helped set the foundations of where I am today. So I'll be eternally grateful.
Brilliant. So it sounded like the opportunities, the speed, the kind of connections and education that you received there were all very, very nourishing for you and energizing. What were your kind of favorite bits and bobs around the kind of the experiences that you had that you'll never forget?
Yeah, it can go from like how to set up a retail store and grow and scale a model that you can repeat in different locations, like understanding this scale up strategy was super important, or how to actually put some trust and empowerment in teams so that they could be the driving force for you, so you didn't have to do everything yourself. Like, these were new ideas for me, that I had to do everything myself and I had to be the one signing off all the finer details. This was huge. But just reflecting now and thinking about the part, like where I am today in my journey, what I really appreciate at Dr. Martens is the sponsorship. Perhaps I wasn't getting the promotions or the job title, but I was in the rooms that I needed to be, or in the conversations that I needed to be, to develop my strengths or grow professionally. Then reflecting on the babysitting experience, like, I think that referral also built my confidence. And now coming back into the working world as a working parent, especially you are as well, but I'm mostly remote now, like, how do you get that sponsorship from places? It has to be super, super intentional nowadays, right?
Yeah, you have to be really deliberate. Virtual has opened up so many opportunities, particularly in terms of equity of access to employment for talent with disabilities, talent living more remotely, talent with caring commitments. All of that has been brilliant. But the downside is when you're remote, you have less of those kind of informal network and connection relationships, because you just don't tend to do that. You come onto a screen to do something, and so all of those pieces are missing. One of the integral parts of our programs is, once people have got clear about what their design is and then what their plans are, the next question is, who do you next need to talk to about this? Who do you need on the team to get this started? And from a distance, that does have to be a lot more intentional and sometimes orchestrated than it would be if you were bopping into each other or had the chance for a casual conversation in an office space more often.
Because the Culture Vultures, we were all doing it on top of our day roles. So it was my first experience of working in employee resource groups, getting the support and motivation from employees to want to go above and beyond in their role to help contribute to the wider company culture.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing how some of those things we fall into can turn out to really be amazing assets in the end. Career Matters came from me training as a storyteller to tell biographical stories about my grandma's life. She had this incredible life working in the sort of science field in the former USSR. And at that time, someone told me that they were taking a course in coaching and that it was funded. And I was like, what's coaching? And I'd been thinking about becoming a therapist. But when I heard that coaching was all about the future, I thought, that's one for me. And I did those two things just from a learning perspective, never really expecting them to turn into my career. But actually, my work now is all about using people's narrative and biography to really help them to identify the things that they want in their career and have them. So it just goes to show, whether it's volunteering, a course that looks interesting, a shadowing relationship, you never know where those things are going to take you. And extracting the juice from them is also a skill set in itself.
It's important. Also a huge privilege. Not everybody gets the choice to spend a little bit of time doing things they're passionate about. You can find something small that you're passionate about, take it as a moment of self-care, and you never know, it could open up more doors or be part of your future as well.
The futures of people is one of the most exciting areas for me. It's like, well, who knows where this little seed could grow into, and as they say in the world of gardening, some you eat, some you compost, right?
Holly has hit on something so important. If you're always looking to learn something new, you might be surprised where it could take you. And if you're mulling a career change but aren't sure what yet, just try taking a short course, volunteering in ways that expose you to the possibilities of that role or that industry. I call it piloting the micro version, a chance to try things out and experiment before jumping in with both feet.
Let's talk about impact, right? Because I know that your work is all about impact, but I'm interested in, on a personal basis, what's your measurability? Can you tell us a story, a moment where you really found something to measure that mattered to you?
The first thing that always jumps into my head is in Personio at the moment. We have a lovely homegrown action to help drive our D&I progress. And this came from the people of Personio for the people of Personio only. And what it is we give this space to employees once a month to share a bit about who they are. It's called Don't Disable Me, and it doesn't have to be around disabilities, although this is where it originally came from. So we had a colourblind product designer sharing his story, or a deaf employee sharing her story. And it's really just about their lived experience. People listen to their perspective and then use it to shape the perception of Personio, making sure that, like, hey, have we got a quiet zone in the office for the deaf employee, going back to that. But it also really helped our neurodiverse employees, and it also helped working parents and people that wanted wanted to find a space for multi-faith rooms, easily find, hey, these are the right areas in the office because they've already been cornered off for these purposes. So it impacted so many people. I'd love to reel off loads of numbers and statistics to encourage this across loads of different companies. But the biggest thing is, how amazing is it that people have the safety, the confidence, the bravery to just say, hey, this is me, this is my perception, so that people can hear someone else's perception, and together we can build a better perspective of actually what it's like to be at Personio. So no hard facts, no figures. And I feel super proud that we've created a space for people that they feel like they can do it. It's always something I can easily find speakers who want to share their own lived experience and create great stories from it.
It's a really powerful story. Like some of the best ideas, incredibly simple. You think, well, that really is a good idea because any company could do that.
Yeah.
You don't need resources, special budget, special tech, any of those things. You have people, they have lived experience. How can you capture that to create community and get better together? And I think it really speaks to your ethos around D&I in Personio, which is very much about this sort of uniqueness and belonging, both of those things having their place, that we recognise and celebrate the uniqueness of the individual. Managers and leaders take note. The larger your firm is, the less people know about other parts of the business and other people's perspectives in it. Don't Disable Me is a great example of a way to gently and informally educate about what different parts of the business are up to and what different people with diverse perspectives might have to say about it. I've seen this kind of video information platform work super well to educate about different brands, different divisions, and different people's activities and work within the organization. This helps to raise awareness, to build people's networks, and to help them to have the opportunity to choose to move within the organization rather than looking outside of it for other opportunities. You can use video, broadcast, blogging platforms. All of these are great ways to share this information that's virtually free. And it's especially valuable now we're in a global context and often a virtual context, with new starters not getting the opportunity to build their network in person. And practically free to do. I also love that, given that you're a data person, you said, I haven't even got any metrics for this and I'm really proud of it. It's how come you've been able to allow yourself to go, there's no KPI, but it's really good?
I think this has been one of the strengths or skills I've learned as a parent. He's so tiny, but sometimes I realized returning to work that I can get so stuck in the detail about trying to make sure that XYZ has improved, but sometimes you just have that feeling that it's a good thing, right? And I am 100% confident that this is a good thing. Nobody convinced me otherwise. Even if my numbers they haven't, but if they did reduce, knowing that I've created that safe space is unbelievable.
Yeah, great. And a chance for a real range of people to be heard, not just the usual voices. And
exactly.
Simple, practical, actionable strategy for creating community and celebrating diversity. Just get voices heard.
Exactly. A caveat that it does have to be driven by people. If you're forcing people to stand up on stage, it'll probably be the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Like if you've got a bunch of introverts that don't want to share their story and you're forcing it, it's not going to create the same.
Of course. Caveated indeed. And last moment, we talk about environment. So we know that putting people into environments where they really struggle can really inhibit their performance, and that conversely, the more that we understand about the environment that helps you be at your best, the better that you can cultivate that for yourself and others and make requests and adjustments around it. Tell us about an environment that really did not bring out the best in you.
This was an easy one. Didn't last too long in this environment at all. But now reflecting back, I realized why. At the time, I was just I'm so unhappy I have to go. But no, my love for numbers and the fact that I want to control as much as I can, be consistent, want to please people. I was in a sales job right after university. And doesn't matter. I could put in the calls, cold calling. It was old-fashioned sales. Cold calling, I put in the numbers. I would get the returns. Sometimes I would be the best performer, but other times I would be the lowest performer. And I did nothing different. There were so many variables that were outside my control. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe it's not the time for their pitch. Maybe I'd got the wrong number. Who knows what it was? But those weeks when I was putting in the same input and getting a different output, they were taking me to my absolute limit. I felt more stressed than I've ever felt in my whole entire life. This is definitely an environment that doesn't work for me.
It is annoying when you feel like there is a methodology, and if I follow that through, there is a predictable outcome. But of course, not all work and not all environments work that way. What's the converse for you then? Like, where do you know that you thrive kind of environmentally? What are the environmental factors that help you play to your strengths?
Yeah, I think having autonomy over my role, like that was an environment where you stick to a script, you put in the numbers, you know what you're going to do hour by hour. I think having the autonomy and data to be able to flex and have some freedom in my role. And also it like felt very slow paced to me. So that's also something that I really thrive in, like a fast pace. Hey, you might be doing this today, but tomorrow will be completely different. And hey, you got this new emergency to deal with, like whatever it might be. And the third thing, it was super lonely, like in the little box by yourself on the phone, trying to call people. I'm finding my rhythm with the Slack communities and Slack connections at work at the moment, but being with other people is definitely my sweet spot. I get energy. I can spend 24 hours working if there's noise around me.
Yeah. If there's good people to swing ideas by and to collaborate with. Yeah, great. Let's see if we can take the combination of the things that we've discussed and turn that into a little design statement that might help focus your attention on where you want to leverage next. So the way the design statement works is that I'm going to give you a frame and you're going to fill in the gaps for me.
Holly,
lovely, will use my skills in. So thinking about our conversation, what are the 2 or 3 like standouts that you know you want to keep bringing into work?
I will use my skills in people and relationships, including trust and consistency.
And my passion for, so this is about the agenda you're serving.
And my passion for helping the wider community.
Mm-hmm. And now we're talking about impact. So I will use my skills in people and relationships and building consistency, my passion for helping the wider community. 2, what's the outcome that those 2 naturally result in that feels good for you?
To allow people their space to feel included and belong.
Allow people space to feel included and belong. Great. An environment that is, so what are the real health factors about the environment for you?
An environment that is fast-paced and buzzing, surrounded by people.
Surrounded by people works best for me, is how we complete it. I'm going to play that back to you and see what you think. I, Holly, will use my skills in people, relationships, trust building and consistency, and my passion for helping the wider community to allow people the space to feel included and belong. An environment that is fast-paced, buzzy, surrounded by people works best for me.
Nice. I love it.
How close is it to where you are now? Like, if you were scoring that, pretty good?
It confirms that I'm in a great place to work for me.
Mm-hmm. In the right spot. There's always opportunity for leverage for even better ifs,
Yeah.
you know? So given what you've shared with us and the statement that you've got to, what do you now see in the landscape as an opportunity for you to start to build a bridge between people and the other functions in the business? Are there even better ifs that you could twist a little bit here that you can see?
Yeah. I work with lots of different employee resource groups at Personio. We have 6. So I'm in the real unique position of being able to meet so many people from so many departments, and I could actually be that connector, especially if it's a pain point for me or struggle for me remotely, then actually I know how it's important to me, then it might be important to somebody else, that actually I could be that sponsorship and put people in the right place, and equally then the favour could be returned.
Yeah, so acting as that advocate or sponsor, being in that position of hearing and listening closely to the business and being able to speak for that as an interface. I think one of the key sort of D&I functions is that kind of voice for intermediary of listening into and really creating that resonance and understanding between the business as a whole and some of the key decision makers, I think is incredibly valuable. Do you have any tips for people who are thinking about, but how do I get my point across around that? What are the good ways to advocate for something or to present ideas? Have you had any particular success in using some unconventional ways to get visibility around some of the things you wanted the business to hear?
For me anyway, it comes down to that trust point of view. And over time, no matter if somebody likes you or not, the more time you spend with someone, the more they're going to trust you because you just become more of their life. That's an easy win, but it would be better if you could do it in a more relatable way. And the other thing is around this consistency. Even if you have the polarizing, so in the D&I world, you can sometimes be caught into very polarizing perspectives and often pulled one way or another depending on where you are in the world, legislations, whatever it might be, how you were born, whatever it might be. But as long as you're consistent, people are comforted that they know what they can get from you, so they trust actually your opinion because it's always been that opinion the whole way through.
That's brand too as well, isn't it? Going back to something you said originally, which is, who do you want to be known as? It sounds like it's starting to become clearer. I can be trusted to give an honest and consistent view on my perspective on X. And you may agree with it, you may not like it, whatever, but you know that you can rely on me to give you an informed and thoughtful view on these perspectives around DEI.
Exactly. And with only good intentions.
Of course. That's in the trust equation, Meister. They say credibility, reliable, intimacy. I told you about that already. But it's divided by the perceived level of self-interest. So people will trust you more the more that they believe that you are advocating for them, and they will trust you less the more they feel that you are acting with your best interest. And I think one of the things that's really clear from this discussion is how much intentionally you naturally operate towards the benefit of others. And that comes across very clearly and that is why people trust you so much.
Thank you.
I hope it's been a useful time together with the equation and just helping to give you a bit of that boost back about all you bring.
Thank you. Yeah, no, honestly, I was very excited to speak to you today, but this is really over and above anything that I expected. And I look forward to listening to more episodes that you're putting out there.
Thank you, Holly. One last question. If we were to ask or share something with little Holly, who started her babysitting and stuck up her index card in the corner shop, what advice would you give that younger self about what you've taken in terms of your career steps?
Keep showing up.
Yeah, you started well with this.
Yeah.
Just keep at it. And so often they say it's not the best person or the fastest person. Exactly as you said about the running, it's the one who just keeps showing up and keeps doing. Yeah, and it's brilliant advice, I think, for anyone, anywhere. Just keep showing up little by little as well. Yeah. Brilliant. Holly, we will put in the show notes all of the information that we might need. But if you are out there listening going, I really want to hang out with this woman, or indeed if you want to find out more about Personio, you're a small to medium enterprise that know that automation could be saving you hours and millions of pounds and dollars, then please do get in touch both with Personio and with Holly. And what are the best ways to do that, Holly?
You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Holly Smith-DM. I'm always contactable there. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Career Equation podcast.
Stay connected with us on socials for more career insights, behind-the-scenes moments, and updates on upcoming episodes. And if you'd like to work with us, visit the Career Equation website or click the links in the show notes.
Remember, the Career Equation isn't just a podcast, it's a journey towards unlocking your full potential, enjoying your life, and doing remarkable stuff.
Until next time, keep solving those career equations and pursuing your path to success.
And don't forget to share your thoughts and feedback with us. Your input shapes the future of our show.
Until next time, keep solving those career equations and pursuing your path to success. This is Erica Sosna
And Zoe Schofield. Signing off.